to the Rates and Lanes podcast, everybody. If you give us a few minutes, I'm doing a little trying to get all of our channels up and going. So we are streaming live tonight. So if you got any questions or comments, you can type them into the comment section. We will see them as we are going, and you can participate into tonight's show. I'm trying to see if we can get Instagram up and live. Have to go through a couple of little things, but while I'm doing that, welcome to the Rates and Lanes podcast, everybody. I am your host, Rico Muhammad. The fine gentleman that is below me, that is Chuck Snow, my co-host. We appreciate you guys for joining us. If you would do us a huge favor, if you would please like, share, and subscribe, that will help us out tremendously, trying to get the show out bigger and broader audience. Also, comment. Leave us a comment. Leave us some feedback on some things that you would like for us to cover. Give us some assignments. Give us some homework. After all, we try our best to try to give you guys the show. This show is centered around small owner operators and small fleets. Try to give you guys some real world experience. There are a lot of channels that are out there that have a lot of great information nowadays. I think we kind of kicked off in the space, but we have definitely there have been some heavy hitters that come into the space. Freight waves and all the different people that have come into the space that can deliver a whole lot of information, much more than what we had access to, and they have a lot of different tools. So I definitely recommend, we're going to try to share some of those things, but I definitely recommend that you have some of that stuff into your repertoire so that you can make sure that you are getting up-to-date information as well. And with that being said, welcome my co-host below me, Mr. Chuck Snow, to the show. Good evening, Chuck. How are you?
We're doing great, Rico. It's been a lot of stuff going on this week. My God, I can't believe the price of fuel. It's one of our listeners contacted me. I think it was Friday night, and he had paid $7 and change a gallon in Connecticut. And I know the prices are varying. One person I spoke to, I think, paid $9 in California.
Yeah, it is. Fuel definitely jumped from last week. Fuel jumped from Monday to Friday. It jumped over $1 per gallon.
Oh yeah.
At least, and even if you are fortunate enough to get a fuel discount,
you gotta have it.
It is very, very. It is rough paying that fuel discount because you may have the fuel discount, but man, at these prices, it doesn't really lighten the blow all that much at these prices. And it's hard when fuel goes up initially. And I know that we say we are on the spot market, but it is very difficult to, once the fuel goes up the way it did, as dramatically as it did within the time frame that it did, it is very difficult to get that, to kind of pass that along, so to speak.
But you have to, and I want to talk about this a little bit tonight, Rico. Our listeners, if they don't pass that increase in fuel onto the customer or the broker, they themselves will go broke. We can't be subsidizing the shippers, whether it's through the broker or directly. It just can't be done.
I agree, but now let's have a real deal discussion on it.
Okay.
Very real standpoint. And taking a little bit of a retirement, but he definitely keeps his ear close to the pulse of the industry. But on a day in, day out basis, and out here dealing with brokers every day, it is really difficult. A lot of brokers have kind of taken the position from things that I'm seeing, my experience, anecdotal as it may be, is that they are taking a position of they are really holding the line on trying to keep rates suppressed, even if um, it's very funny. I had a conversation with a few brokers earlier in the week, and one lady called me with a load. I'm down in Florida right now, load going back to Atlanta, and normally on that lane coming out of Florida this time of year, my rate is about, I try to get about $1,200 depending upon where I am in Florida.
Right.
And she was saying that well, all we can pay is $600. We pay $600 all the time. Well, I'm sorry, $600 ain't gonna cut it. And then of course the other favorite line that the brokers love to use is can you help me out? Can you meet me? And my rebuttal to that is, I'm really trying my best to stick to as much as I give a little bit of I try to be as fair as I possibly can, but when it comes to a certain point, you have to tell the broker, hey, I can't go in the TA and say, hey, can you help me out a little bit on the fuel?
Nobody's going. And I had a conversation with a friend of mine who owned a large trucking company many years ago. He sold about 25 years ago, and we were talking about, and you can't wish for profitability. You've got to make it happen. It's not sort of thing you can wish for. Fuel right now is our largest expense by far.
Right.
And since it's our largest expense, we can't overlook it. If there's ever been a time where our listeners need to know their exact operational cost, is right this moment, especially when fuel is $5.50 to $9 a gallon.
Yeah, right now I really try my best to keep updating my cost per mile spreadsheets. I try to I run my week. I'll do all my revenue, do all my calculations, and I try to keep that updated and refreshed as currently as I possibly can, and try to add a little bit of spread some of this fuel cost out. It's been very difficult on getting the full amount of a $1 per mile increase on the rate to compensate for the $1 per gallon that it has went up. So it's been difficult to achieve that, but I've been trying my best to try to make sure that I'm calculating as best I can to keep above water. And let me circle back around. We talked a little bit about diesel fuel. Good news, ladies and gentlemen. After several days of the fuel increasing, we should have a decrease tonight at midnight. That fuel should go down. So if you hadn't bought fuel already today, hold off until after midnight, or I should say 1 a.m. Central Time. That's when that's when the new fuel prices will kick in after 1 a.m. I said p.m. 1 a.m. In the morning. That's when the new fuel prices will kick in. And so we're showing that the U.S. average rate for diesel fuel is checking in at $3.90 per gallon on average. That is up 9 cents from the previous week, according to this report. But it's I can't remember what the week is showing by, because like I said, I know for a fact it went up for $1 per gallon over the course of last month.
I believe that data is in this market. It's not going up by 10 cents; it's going up by $1. And I heard the same thing you heard, that fuel's going down tonight. That may be, that may be temporary. I would think until this thing is over and we get back to some normalcy. I think we can expect increases, though. I think it may go down tonight, but I think it may go up tomorrow or the next day, unless some miracle happens.
The difficult thing to understand is, from what I understood, is that we are not really. I don't know how. I'm not an oil baron. I don't know how the prices of oil and crude and all this stuff is supposed to work. But from what I understand is we don't get any of our supplies from that region where all of the drama is taking place right now. So I don't understand with that logic. Like I say, I'm not a I'm not an oil tycoon, but I don't understand why is it or how is it that our fuel prices are jumping up by astronomical amounts when we're supposedly have plenty our fuel supply and we're supposed to have plenty to go around. After all, I mean, hell, we 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 got all of Venezuela's oil from.
Yeah, thank goodness. But you know what? First of all, I have to disagree with you. You are an oil baron, okay? We are all oil barons, and the fact that what we are in trucking, and I want you to consider this, we are all resellers of diesel fuel. You sell diesel. That's really seriously, Rico. It's your
That's a good one. Yeah,
okay,
that's a
and
good.
I figured this out years ago. All I was doing was I was buying diesel fuel and I was reselling it with other things, of course, but I'm selling diesel fuel. And one truck uses a lot of diesel fuel.
Absolutely.
And we are selling diesel fuel, so we better get paid for what we sell. Or if you don't get paid for what you sell, you end up out of business.
Absolutely. Well, jumping back over to kind of wrap up this report for this week, national spot market rates, we are showing that dry van rates are checking in at $2.40 per mile on average. That is 2 cents higher than from the previous week. We are showing that flatbeds is taking over, being the darling of the industry right now. Flatbeds can call their own shot. Reefers had their time in the sun for a little while, and now flatbed seems to have taken knocked reefers off of the throne, and they are coming in strong at $2.86 per mile on average. That is 7 cents higher from the previous week. Reefer rates are holding strong and steady. We have reefers checking in at an average of $2.80 per mile. It's just 1 cent lower than it was from the previous week. But and that kind of puts a bow on the little preliminary reports that we try to give to you guys every week when we come on air.
What did it say for dry vans? Did it say? I'm sorry. What were the dry vans looking like?
The dry van rate, that was $2.40 per mile on average.
That's not bad. That's really good.
Yes.
But it's not good enough when fuel is $5 or $10 or $9 a gallon.
It makes it really, really difficult. And so you had some tips and some pointers that you wanted to kind of talk about tonight as far as with the fuel. I'm gonna let you take over for a second and share your thoughts.
Yeah. Well, number one, you got to get paid for your fuel, your increase in fuel. That's number one. You got to conserve fuel. Don't be idling your truck if you don't have to. Drive a little slower. Every truck is different. I know some of them hit that sweet spot at 63 miles an hour, some of them at 55 miles an hour, but do whatever you can. If you know your sweet spot, get to your sweet spot and stay at it. If it takes you an hour out of your day, but you're going to get X mileage, do it, because fuel's gold right now.
Yep.
You know,
I'm going to say one point. I'm going to jump in real quick, Chuck, and if I'll let you finish. But if you don't already have them, when fuel prices tend to get this high, I've kind of experienced this a time or two. Unfortunately, it hadn't ever happened to me. But make sure that you invest in some locks on your fuel tanks and your reefer, because right now, with fuel being this high, the fuel thieves are out there at the truck stops, and you would think that you might be able to hear somebody tampering with your fuel tanks or whatever, but I've seen many of people wake up the next morning at a truck stop and can't start the truck because somebody has siphoned off every bit of fuel in the tanks. Didn't even leave enough. Left barely enough fuel in the reefer so that it wouldn't shut off to alert them.
Rico, it's funny you say that, because just like you get puddles after rain, you get fuel thieves when fuel gets this high, and I imagine some of the fuel thieves are the people that aren't getting enough money for hauling what they're hauling, and they have to steal people's fuel in order to make ends meet. So for God's sakes, it's a great idea. And the other thing is, it's just a good idea to have locks on your fuel tanks, because some idiot who maybe you upset them somehow, or whatever, or somebody's just has something wrong with them, put something in your tank. It's just a good
Right.
idea. Trucks are expensive. Don't leave, and where we park our trucks in open truck stops and everything else, make sure you lock your tanks. They're really not that expensive.
No, you can invest in probably you may I priced them this week because I need to get some for my truck. For Freightliners, you can, if you go directly through Freightliner, and I'm pretty sure you can find some on the aftermarket. But they were running about $100, about $100 per size. So $200 for locking fuel caps from Freightliner. You probably can find them maybe a little bit cheaper if you want to shop it around. But that's probably about the going rate, and it would help if you can, if you're out there buying them, try to make sure you try to get them key to, that way it makes it a little bit easier on you to, you don't have to keep funneling for keys, but try to get them key to so that you can have one key to open both tanks.
100%. Now, were you looking at the ones that have the key in the middle, or the ones that have a lock on them on the side? What were you looking at, like a padlock sort of thing?
We got a little bit of a technical glitch there. Can you repeat that, Chuck?
Yes. The ones you were looking at from Freightliner, were they the ones where you stick the key in the middle of the cap and locks, or did they have a separate little thing? Because I found the best one
from the middle.
Those are not great. They can be problematic. You can get dirt in that top. That's what we found. We did better with the padlocks on them.
With the padlocks on the tanks?
Yeah. Have you seen those?
I may go on Amazon and do a little search here in a minute.
Yeah. You'll see them at the truck stop. Well, you may not see them at the truck stops right now because everybody's been buying them. I would imagine. I am sure that if somebody complains that they have fuel stolen at a truck stop, every guy that was parked that night that didn't have one is going to buy one.
Absolutely.
So you have to make sure you're conserving fuel, lock your fuel, drive according to get the optimum amount of fuel mileage you can, because fuel is gold. It's when it gets this expensive, it's 1 mile an hour can easily be $15,000 a year difference.
Yeah, it's critical that you save as much fuel as you can. Like you say, the number one thing is that right foot. The right foot, or whichever finger it is that you set your cruise control with. If you got to be a little bit easier on that, and that's gonna give you a direct effect to your bottom line.
Yeah, you've got to do that, and then shop around for fuel. Obviously, try to buy the best fuel you can at the cheapest price. You got to really shop. If you don't have some sort of fuel deal, make sure you get one right now.
So, Chuck, you were saying you had the ones with the padlock on them?
Yes.
How were they made? I'm looking at some right now.
I believe, if I'm not, they fit on top. There was the padlock fit between the neck. I'm going back between the neck and the cap, and there was like an eye ring that you'd put the padlock through.
Those are the ones I'm looking at right now. Okay,
those are the ones you want. And when you get the padlock, it's really important because when you're out on the road, it's still winter in parts of the continent. The salt crap gets in them, and you can get these padlocks where and these are worth their weight. They're a little extra, but you get them. They've got a cover covering the where you put the key in.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
really,
Okay.
I really recommend getting those ones and get a decent padlock. Don't cheap out on the padlock, because I can tell you many years ago, and I'm going back way back when I got out of high school, I was in the security business for a while, and I bought a pair of those great big snips that you snip locks and stuff off with. And I got to tell you, I think they're now
Right.
$50 at Home Depot, and there's not a lot of locks that you can't cut with one of those in a second. So buy a decent lock.
Uh-oh. I'm not sure if it's me or it might be me. My signal might not be the greatest where I am right now.
Yeah, I think it's the signal, but you're coming in loud and clear up here.
Okay, good. Yeah, it's coming in frozen a little bit sporadically on this end. But to kind of wrap up for the night, we're getting close to our wrap up point. How a lot of people saying, Chuck, now, and I'm kind of want to get your opinion. They're saying that this fuel price increase is supposed to be short lived. What do you think? What do you think that how this thing is going to play out?
Well, I don't know how. Nobody knows other than maybe Hegseth and President Trump how long this is going to last. We have no idea. But even when it stops, it will take some time. It's funny when fuel goes up because you have a world event, and I've lived through several of them. I was running a fleet back in 1979 when this whole Iran thing started. And that's a whole other story, because I was hauling gas cans at the time and making a lot of money. But what we did notice was when fuel goes up, it goes right up immediately when the event happens. It doesn't go down as quickly when the event is over. That takes time. So don't expect fuel at $3 and change a gallon as soon as this war is over. It will definitely take time, and you'll hear all sorts of excuses. Remember, there are all sorts of parties involved when you're talking about trading oil. There's
Right.
several brokers involved here and there, middlemen, distributors, everybody else. So everybody's got to kind of get in line with pricing and volumes, and even their supply chain has been totally disrupted.
Right. So hopefully, hopefully this thing is short lived and can kind of, because it's a damn shame that once the rate really started to kind of improve, that you get hit right in between the eyes with the fuel hike that kind of wipes out a little bit of when you think you might be able to be able to get a little bit of extra profit, to start being able to put back and to make up for all the past 3 years, to try to start covering some ground on some stuff that you may have been neglecting, and then you get hit right in between the eyes with the fuel hike. It has been definitely tough sledding.
Rico, I've got to add to that. You're right on the money there, and the listeners and the carriers that are going to be around when this is over are the ones that react properly, and recover their extra cost. And don't give it, if you're going to give it to the shipper or give it to the broker, you don't have it and you're not going to make up for it. You're working for free.
And so next week, Chuck, I want to talk about, we kind of hit it on it a little bit, but I want to talk about, with the changing market and being able to try to have the ability to claw back some of the things that we are definitely do when it comes to negotiating with shippers. What I mean by that is making, spot market, not necessarily spot market, but getting able to make sure that you're getting detention for one, and making sure that you are being able to try to get some things concessions clawed back that we have been kind of giving up over the past few years. While we got an opportunity, I think that now kind of presents a perfect opportunity for us to try to maybe balance the scales, so to speak, a little bit back, to give a little bit of balance to the situation. I know I'm not going to get maybe all of the balance back that we want, but I definitely would like to, get some pointers from you over the years. How have you navigated this terrain in previous times when things have kind of taken a turn, when shippers kind of had the upper hand, and now it's kind of coming back towards carriers?
It's a great topic. It's certainly a bone of contention between every carrier and every shipper. We are the only industry in the world that works for free.
Absolutely.
We will continue to work for free as long as we have people in our industry willing to work for free, because it's really hard for any of us to compete with somebody that gives it away. Why would you go to the bakery? Why would you go to the bakery up the street and pay $2 for a loaf of bread when you can go to the baker down the street and get it for free?
Yeah, and this is the thing. I think that this is the fly in the ointment when it comes to the whole contentious adversarial relationship between carriers and brokers, because the broker has spent a lot of time trying to procure customers, and they're trying their best to placate and coddle the customer, and they really don't want to ruffle the feathers, so to speak, and go back on behalf of the carrier to ask for detention, especially when you're dealing with spot market rates and stuff like that. They don't want to go back, and a lot of times this is the number from a lot of carriers out here when they're dealing with brokers, is that they expect you to work for free. You don't get compensated for your layovers properly. You don't get compensated for detention properly, and that is the number one contention. And I think that is why this whole thing that's in front of the Supreme Court with the broker liability and the shipper liability, I think that is from a lot of carriers are pushing to kind of want to hold the broker accountable, because they feel like that they have gotten the raw end of the stick over the course of the relationships when dealing with brokers and shippers.
I listened to that interview with Craig Fuller, and he is a genius. He really is. He grew up around trucking, and it was either him or Matt Leffler said it beautifully. The worst thing that could ever happen to our industry would be for the Supreme Court to rule in favor of the broker taking the liability, because what happens there is the broker's got this liability. How is he going to protect himself? He can't use the small carrier anymore. For the most part, it's the small carriers that use brokers. Your big guys too.
Right.
I've loaded JB Hunt, I've loaded Schneider in my life, I've loaded all of them, but not consistently every day of my life. They will use a broker when they need a broker to balance something out. Those quite often these days are one-offs in most cases. But all of a sudden, if the broker has to assume the responsibility, especially in the fact that how is a broker going to assume the responsibility and liability of choosing a carrier when carriers aren't vetted? That's the big fly in the ointment right there.
Right.
If we had vetting carriers, and I know how to do this, if somebody would damn well listen, it's very easy. It could be easily done, and it could be profitable. It doesn't have to cost the U.S. government one dime, and it would be. And I'll say it right now very quickly. You have privatized companies that are vetted, that are when you put with AI and everything else, we can put this in place where they do desktop audits. And every single carrier, I don't care if they have 10,000 trucks or one truck, is vetted annually. And they're charged whatever it costs. One truck, let's say, is $200. Okay, maybe it's $400. But now, guess what? Rico has a audited statement with a good safety rating. That's worth money. You take that
Yep.
to the broker and say, "Hey, listen, I'm a good carrier. Here, look, I have a satisfactory rating." And now the broker will say, "Okay, you know what? You have a satisfactory rating. I trust you. You've done your homework. Okay." Right now, it's the Wild West.
Yep. Well, we're going to have to leave it right there for this week,
Okay.
but definitely next week we want to circle back around, and like I said, we want to talk about how do we try to implement some clawbacks.
You know what? We have to, Rico. If you've looked at the price of a new truck, if you've looked at the price of a tire, if you've looked at the price of taking a truck into a shop, if you've looked at the price of insurance, everything has gone sky high. We can't be giving away stuff, guys. There just ain't enough money in it.
Absolutely. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank you guys for your time and attention. You could have been anywhere else in the world, but you took some time to hang out with us. We're grateful for you doing so. If you would, please, I'm going to remind you, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe to the show. It helps us out tremendously. And with that being said, we want you guys to continue to stay safe out there, stay healthy. Hopefully you're staying profitable. Keep it in between the mustard and mayonnaise, and we'll talk at your same time, same place next week. God bless you and good night.
Flip-flop. God bless. Everybody be safe. You too, Rico. Be safe out there.
Yes, sir.
God bless. Good night.